Joining me on the program now from the Nurses Christian Fellowship New Zealand, Nick Booth. Nick, kia ora, thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Andrew, and your listeners. Hello.
First up, let's clarify, Nick, you're not speaking on behalf of the medical profession, on behalf of any particular nurses union. You are a nurse, you're an individual. This is something which affects you and you have an opinion on it, but not necessarily representing all nurses in this regard, Nick. That would be fair, right?
Thanks so much, Andrew. Yes, indeed. That's very well put. Thank you.
Now, this is supposed to cause disruption. That's what striking does, and there are some people who are upset that, hey, they're going to need to make different childcare arrangements for the teachers' strike, or it may be that their operation has been pushed back a period of time. I'm not sure whether this has happened, but people who are on waiting lists are frustrated that a nurses' strike may mean that waiting list becomes longer. Can you understand the frustration of the general public to such a significant strike affecting so many sectors?
Yeah, yes, that's right, and that's one of the unfortunates. That's why I think unions take the action that they do to somehow bring about whether it's support from the general public or to make a bold statement.
Yep.
And that actually, even as talking with some colleagues this week, that's one of the realities. What will be the flow-on effect? How will the catch-up take place? How long will it take? How many people are going to be kind of hurt by not having their surgeries on Thursday, Friday, or soon?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very real thing.
There's also been some pushback from politicians, an open letter from Judith Collins over the weekend, and some strong statements from Health Minister Simeon Brown, claiming that medical staff have crossed an ethical line by taking strike action this Thursday. What do you make of those statements? How would you respond, Nick?
I saw Judith Collins' statement, her open letter into the Herald. I honestly can't remember the detail of it. She'd make some reference to it kind of being politically motivated.
Yeah.
I actually honestly haven't seen or heard what Simeon Brown has said. The reality is, as I see it, is that there is a place for members of unions to strike.
Yep.
And actually that has been acknowledged both by the employer. I've received an email acknowledging that is the right. I think also, well, obviously it happens. We live in a democracy where
Yep.
it allows these sorts of things, and it's a kind of one form of a freedom of expression, I think. So as for Judith's comments about politically motivated, I'm not quite sure how to comment on that.
Well, I suppose to draw a long bow, when we look at the Labour movement in New Zealand, which honestly has done a lot of good for New Zealand, we celebrate, of course, Labour weekend coming up very shortly, thanks to the trade unions and the 40-hour week. But trade unions with clear links to the Labour Party, as the name suggests. It would be fair that career trade unionists probably lean left rather than right. It's not a totally balanced playing field when it comes to union representation and what political parties they're likely to vote for. Would that be fair?
Yes, well, people are open to have their opinions and their political persuasions and their affiliations and their allegiances. I just hope that there is some thought behind, why people do what they do. I think that's one of the positives to me, Andrew, that can come out of this. While there is the disruptions, and there will be disruption in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully, all very peaceful.
Yeah.
One of the positives I think is that can come from it is that people get the chance here to think through their position. What COVID, what maybe geopolitical instabilities in our world, whether it's far away in the Middle East or closer at home in the Asian kind of basin or circuit, is instability.
Yeah.
And this is the time again for Christians, I think, and for all of us, just to bring some calm and to bring some thought to what we do. So there's decisions about what we do, but also importantly is the rationale why we do it. And I think there's an opportunity for all of us, churched or unchurched, striking or not striking, every single one of us, even of those who might be sitting on the sofa trying to make some sense of it all.
Yeah.
What would you do? And why would you do it? And I think that's what we're called to do, is actually be people of thought. And this is where we have a great opportunity to bring stability in a world which is kind of going to chaos.
Yeah.
Is that through I know where I stand, here's where I stand, comfortable with that, and I think that brings an opportunity to really show some sense of real intestinal fortitude. And that means, honestly, too, Andrew, whether we strike or not strike, it doesn't mean you have to do one or the other,
Yeah, yeah.
but simply people who think through what they do rather than being like the proverbial Kiwi sheep
Yeah.
and just follow the others. But actually, we know what we're doing. And I think that's a great opportunity here.
I think it's easy to stereotype people here and go, okay, all the politicians are bad, and all, depending on where you sit politically, the stereotypes are easy. But the government seems to have said, isn't this terrible? All the public servants are so greedy; they want more money. Honestly, Nick, you're a nurse. I don't know a lot of nurses that were motivated by big stacks of cash to get into the nursing profession. Nurses are people that care, that want good outcomes for their patients. Yes, a fair wage so they don't all take off to Australia, but finance isn't necessarily a key motivator even for the current industrial action.
I hope. Well, I understand there's a couple of reasons for it. I hope that certainly we haven't lost the fun. And I've heard and I understand that the hospital care and looking after the disadvantaged and the poor and the sick comes from Jesus' command to look after those who can't look after themselves and so forth, right? So I do hope that we haven't lost an integral part and probably underlying motivation of compassion, mercy, grace, and care for people. You're right. That's why people come into it. That's why I came into the profession as a second career about 26 years ago, was to care for people. I do think that when I started, not just because wages have increased, but there have been other statements made in the last number of years that I think, there's some degree of equity with regard to the pay scales. The one about a kind of Australia and people taking off, that's a reality.
Yeah.
But I do hope that people are not just thinking about cash, because it isn't a bottomless pit. And I understand that one big thing for this strike actually has to do with sort of safe staffing. So while money might be a motivation for some people, and again, as you mentioned at the very beginning, it's a mega strike. There are teachers, there are all kinds of people involved. Everyone may have different, and in fact, the teachers have got a different kind of axe to grind. But nurses, for them, I understand it is probably pay and conditions, particularly safe staffing.
Safe staffing levels for themselves and also the patients in that regard. For many in the nursing professions, not all, of course, but motivated by faith, and also within the trade union movement, the history of the trade unions motivated by a sense of justice and fairness and wanting to work in that regard. Some people may be thinking, though, will it make a difference? What will be achieved by the strike on Thursday? Will it get the government's attention, who will suddenly come back with a better offer? Or is it just, I suppose, a little bit of politicking and positioning? Some people asking broad questions on does industrial action, particularly in the public sector, particularly for public servants, does it still have the impact that perhaps it used to do back in the day?
Yeah, really good question. And I don't actually, wouldn't call myself either political or a trade unionist kind of commentator.
Yep.
I wonder, and that's a great thing, behavior, does it lead to something, does it move the dial? Does it actually lead to some reasonable outcome? So it's something I honestly don't know how to comment on, and whether politicians behind closed doors are saying, okay, we need to listen up.
Yep.
I wonder at some point, does the public get a bit upset? This is now, at least I know this is the third strike for nurses in the last 3 or 4 months. At what point is there, when's the tipping point in actually from support to actually the opposite, to opposition to what unions do, right? So I think unions probably also trying to listen to, what the word on the street is, what the temperature amongst the public is, to actually try to, manage and to maneuver that kind of understanding quite clearly. So yes, not sure what it might mean, but it remains to be seen, some of that.
Whether or not it will move the dial on this particular instance, as you say, remains to be seen. But as we do head towards Labour weekend, I think it would be fair to recognise that whatever political or ideological viewpoint that you come from, we have better working conditions here in New Zealand because of the actions of trade unions in the past. And yet, whilst it may be inconvenient, important to acknowledge the difference that some hard-working campaigners have made over many years. Nick, thank you so much for the work that you do at Nurses Christian Fellowship and the work that you do in the medical profession. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us today.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.